Greetings, pilgrims, and welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage. And today I'm coming to you from my brand new machine, and I've got brand new audio settings. I think everything is going to sound great and look awesome for you guys, so I'm really excited for that. So let's jump in with what we're doing today. Today we are working some more on my Neon Challenge project here inside of Unity, and I'm going to show you how to create some pretty awesome air traffic. So it doesn't look like much right now, but if I look up in the sky, look at that. We've got some air traffic, and these are one model of a ship I made for now, but we're going to have multiple different types of ships, and they all fly in this pattern across the sky, and as you can see, they're bumping each other out of the way. We got it worked out so that they have to stay within a certain range, and they will get spawned, they'll move around each other, they're different sizes, they move at different speeds, and this is designed to be a background element. So we want to make sure that as they go across the sky, they also reach a point where they get destroyed. Because it's a background element, we don't want to have all these resources being hogged when we want to have these resources for the things that are right in front of the camera's face, right? So the goal is to have some kind of cool sci-fi looking ships, and here they are, going across the sky, and we can move the endpoints as well. So we can put it way in the distance, we can put it way in the distance that way. I've also added to these the little trail behind them, so we're going to go over how to do that. We're going to go over everything. This is 3 scripts, 1 model, 2 different textures, a couple of component settings, and I make everything into a prefab, and we'll look at that as well. So we can take the whole prefab, we can put it multiple layers and crisscross them through the sky. So it's going to be great. And here it is in action, a little bit longer for you here. So let's go ahead and get started with building it. That's the fun part, right? Okay, so to begin with, we're going to need a couple of things. We need a spot where they start and a spot where they end. We need some kind of an engine that will generate them. We need to make sure that they move forward always. We need to make sure they don't bump into each other. And then we need to make sure that they stay within a certain range. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite all the scripts with you. But first, let's go ahead and create the actual ships themselves, okay? That's the easiest part. So if I go into my air traffic folder here, I have everything already, and you can see we have the scripts here, but we're going to rewrite them together, okay? But all I'm going to take for now is the actual ship model, and let's drag and drop one of those into the scene. So then if we take a look, he's right here. Here he is. So this is the model, and I will provide the model and the textures. I'm not going to go over how to actually model this. It's really simple. It's just, a box that I edited a little bit. And then also the textures I made inside of Substance Painter. But again, I'm not going to go over that in the tutorial because that's not the point of what we're doing today, but I will provide the textures. So if you want to have these in your world, go for it. I'm going to have a couple of different ones eventually. All right, so one important thing to look at for our model here is you notice that if I expand him, he's actually in 2 pieces. And this first piece that is called Ship 1 is just a transform, really. This is just an invisible container for this P-Cube 159 is what it happened to be called inside of Maya when I exported it. This is the guy that actually has the mesh filter, which is what does it look like? Well, what does the model look like? And then we have the mesh render, which makes him appear in the world. He also has a transform that is relative to within the ship 1, and he has a material. So we're going to be working with all of that. So what I'm going to do is bring in one of the existing prefabs that I've made. So let's bring in ship 3, shall we? He's pretty similar. And so this is what the ships look like. See, they got a light on the back, they got the textures, they got the little trail. So we're going to rebuild this guy using this guy, and we'll have this one here to compare. So if you look here, ship 3, he has the P-Cube 59. He's also got a point light that's on the back here to make sure that, that we're illuminating the engines on the back of this thing. And if you look at his P-Cube, he's got a material here for the ship. And then on this guy, this is where all the actual work happens on that first invisible container object. So we've got a move forward script, we've got a rigid body, we've got a line renderer, and a capsule collider, and another material. So this is where everything happens. So we're going to rebuild all of this. Okay, so first up, we notice that he needs to have a rigid body. So let's go ahead and add that to this guy. So I go here and say add component, and that's under physics, rigid body. There we go, pretty simple. But a couple of things. We want to uncheck use gravity because we don't want these guys to fall out of the sky. And as they're going along, they're going to bump into each other, and we don't want them to go in crazy directions. So let's go ahead and freeze all of his rotations. Okay, there we go. Now you'll notice that if we go back and forth, so rigid body, 10.05, those are the default settings. None and discrete, and I've unchecked use gravity, and I've checked all the freeze rotations. So there you go. That's exactly the same right there. Perfect. Okay. So this guy also has a capsule collider. All right. So this is to make sure that when they bump into each other in the sky, that because of the smooth nature of this, they can kind of work their way around one another. Perfect. Okay. So the settings here for this guy, and I've got them written down over here too, are 0.043 for the center. And that's based upon this standard shape. The others get kind of squashed and stretched because I was just trying to make different sizes quickly. Radius of 5 and a height of 12.4. So if we do that, what I can do is here is you can just right click and say copy component and go to this guy, and I believe I can right click on any of these and say paste component as new. So there you go. So we add a capsule collider. Now to do that, that's one way if you have one working and you want to copy and paste, but to do it the old-fashioned way, so let's go ahead and remove this real quick, remove component. So I'm going to say add component, physics, and it's capsule collider, which is right here. And then here you can alter in these numbers. So based upon my numbers here, it's 0.43 for that center, radius of 5, and a height of 12.4. Okay? Now you'll notice that that doesn't look quite right because it's obviously, too tall and not wide enough. I think what I did was I rotated it down. So if you go to edit collider, here's where you can actually move these things around, and I believe, yes, on the z-axis. There we go. Z-axis, that works out. Now it's around the ship, and we have a little bit of berth to that so that things can kind of move around. They don't look like they're hitting each other. So to get that to rotate, you just have to click this edit collider and then change your direction here. Okay, and I changed it to z-axis. And then uncheck that when you're done. There we go. They both have the colliders. Very cool. Okay. Next up, we need our line renderer. So our line renderer is the thing that will make this little trail behind them in the sky. Now you can also do this with a trail renderer, but I was not having luck with that. It was working inside the editor, but not when I ran the game. So I said, you know what? A line renderer is good enough because we want it to be on and already established once we see it in the sky. And it gets destroyed instantaneously at the end, and they're moving at a constant rate. So there's no need for, an actual trail renderer, which is more dynamic. There's a little bit more cost savings with this too. All right, so let's go to this guy, and we're going to add that. And so if you don't know where something is, you can actually just search for it. So I'm going to say line, and then there you go, it'll show up line renderer. There we go. And again, I have my settings over here. So let's take a look at those settings. Come on, settings right there. Okay. So under the settings, we're going to increase the materials. We're going to add a material in here, but we haven't made that material yet, but I'm going to put it in here and I'll show you how we create it later. Trails, there it is. So we're going to use that. Our positions, we only have 2 positions, and the positions are 0, 0, and minus 18. For this guy, this guy's going to get rotated around, and then 0, 0, and 6. Okay, there we go. So that's this trail. There we go. And then what we're going to do is go down here, and our width is going to be a width of 3. So it's nice and big and bold because our engines are pretty big. And then we need to set our settings down here. So view and stretch is good, but the color we need to alter. So I'm going to color, and what we're going to do is I'm going to click here to add a little pin, and I'll move that to the 75 mark, just about there. There we go. And another pin right above it. And what we're going to do here is white is fine here, but right here I want to make this color the alpha of 0. So it's solid, and then it kind of trails off at the end, and you can see that kind of helps out there, because otherwise it's solid pretty much right to the end, and that doesn't look quite right. There we go. So that's how we create that. Now I believe for this guy what we needed to do was rotate the actual model around. Let's take a look at this guy as our cheater. So yeah, 180 rotation on the Y for the model. So not this guy, but this guy. So let's go in here, rotation 180. There we go. Okay. Now he's looking like his brother, right? Okay. So again, we need a material, and I will supply the textures for this material, but the material for this guy, this is the trails. It actually goes on the cube, is this ship material. So over here on the cube, we can apply the ship material. So I believe you can, no, you're going to have to actually drag and drop it. So let's go to our materials. Here's our ship. There we go. And we'll drag and drop this into here. Come on, drop. There we go. So that applies the material, and you can see, get kind of a look at it here. It's just a couple of panels and different decorations and things. And I do have some parts that are emissive, so all of this will glow as they go across the sky. That's part of the neon challenge, is that things glow. So, and I will supply these textures to you, and they are in the textures folder. The way I do my folders here is materials, and then all the materials live here. And then the textures folder is inside of that because you need those as a resource. And this just makes it easier to go into the textures and then drag and drop them over. So we can see them a little bit here, and you can map them down, which is really cool. That's a neat feature. So there you go. So we got a couple of materials, and these will be supplied for you. Okay, so that's all we need for that. So this guy is good to go as far as being a ship. Now we need the scripts that will make this awesome. Oh, we do need the point light. So we do have a point light as well, and that's at the back here. You can see it helps the engine glow. So that point light, and here's the settings as to where it is. I just put it right at the back, a range of 10 and intensity of 8. I want it to be really, really bright. And that is off of the cube. So we go cube, and then we say light, point light. There we go, put him inside there. And if we zero him out right away, this is a neat trick. As you zero it out, it'll be at the center of the thing that it is parented to. And then it's nice and easy, just kind of drag him to the back. There we go. And again, he's already set at range of 10, so do intensity of 8. Now we have this bright engine at the back, and this looks really cool from a distance. Okay, so our ship is complete. There he is. And I'm going to call him Ship 1 for tutorial, okay? Because we're going to recreate everything together. So there we have that. All right. So now he's all set except for the script, and we're going to get into the scripts in just a moment. Let's collapse all of that so everything looks good there. Everything looks good there, and this guy's got the script. So next up is a little bit of scripting. So we have our ships, looks good, and then we can create multiple copies of this, and that's what I did with the prefabs. Is I made one, and then I just duplicated, and then changed a couple things about it. So these are just various sizes for the ships, and then I changed the speeds. So that's all we did for that. So this guy is pretty close to being ready to go. So let's begin with our first script, all right? So let's close this all up, and let's go into our air traffic and create a new script. Create new C# script, and we're gonna call this ship spawner _2. Can't call it ship spawner because that's the name of my script. All right, so let's open this up. And this will open in MonoDevelop. And it should be right down here, but those are my normal scripts. Come on. Ship spawner. There we go. Okay. Yes, I want to convert it to Windows, and let's do this. So I'm this kind of coder. Yes, I have to have all of my curly braces in line with each other. It just helps me organize things. Okay. So we're going to do a couple of things. First up, let's create all of our variables. So we're going to create a couple of things. I'm going to make them all, not all most of them are going to be public, just so we can see them. Okay, so we make a public float, F-L-O-A-T, not A-U. And this is going to be called launch ship every. And so this is going to tell us how often do we want to launch a ship, okay? Then we're going to create a public float of spawn range. And this tells us how far out from our cube, which is going to be our default object, which will be invisible, don't worry. How far out from that are we going to spawn a ship from? Pardon me. We can make a private vector3 spawn at, and a private vector3 of origin. Okay. Now let's make a couple of things. We're going to make a public game object called selected prefab. So that's the one that we've currently selected out of our choices. And I'm going to make a couple of public game objects here of ships 1 through 5. So we're going to make one there, and then say copy. And we're going to go end, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's change those out. Yes, I know. It's the same thing until I change 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. Okay. So now what we have here is a choice for how often we want to launch a ship, how far from the center can we launch a ship, where are we spawning a ship at, where is the origin of our object, because we're going to use that to determine our range, what is the current thing that we have selected, and then what are all of our available choices. Very good. And one more thing we're going to create. So this is going to be a list of game object. Okay. and this is going to be called ship list. There we go, and it's going to be equal to a new list of game objects. A little confusing, but follow me there, it works out. So basically we're making a list that can only take game objects as a type, and we're calling it ship list. This is the list of ships. Very good. All right. So in the start, we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to say origin is equal to this.transform.position. That means that the origin of our spawning area is going to be surrounded around the thing that we have this attached to, which is a cube, just so we can see it in the world. All right. Now, we're going to add all the possible ships to the list. All right. So to do that, we're going to do ship list dot add. We're going to add something. Okay. So I'm going to copy and paste this because we got a couple of them. Obviously, we got 5. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And in here, we're going to put the names of our prefabs. So ship 1, and then let's copy that. Copy and do that 2, that 3, that 4, and that 5. There you go. Okay, so now we're ready to begin. So let's go down here and say begin spawning the ships every X seconds. And this is a user feature. This is a user determined thing. So we're going to call invoke repeating. So this means that I want you to do this thing every so many seconds. So we're going to call this spawn ship. That's going to be the name of our function. I want you to begin to float into the scene once it begins. And how often do I want you to do this? Well, we've already parameterized that. Launch every ship every blank. So every time that comes around, we're going to do this, and this is the beginning of the world. So for my final scene, this will be a 0 because I want it to say right away, as soon as a player begins, because I want the sky traffic to kind of preload a bit. So there we go. Okay, so that wasn't too hard. Now, there's actually nothing we have to do in the update, which is kind of weird. We're going to do it all in a sub kind of function over here. So let's create our spawn ship function that we talked about. So there it is. And we'll make that, and we'll make that. So there we go. Spawn ship. So first up, we need to pick a random location within our desired zone. Okay? So we're going to do spawn at is equal to a new vector 3. Boom. And this is a little crazy, so follow me here, but we want to get a random dot range of minus spawn range. Thank you. So minus spawn range to positive spawn range. Wow, difficult to type that. All right. So that's for our x value is a random value between negative insert number and positive insert number. Okay. Then we're going to do random range again of, again, minus spawn range. Okay. And spawn range. Let me scroll this over here so I can follow along better. Okay. So we got that. Then the last value, we're just going to do 0 because we don't really want them to be too crazy. We want X and Y, but we don't really need Z. So we're just going to say, just start X and Y. Okay, so that's all there is for that line. Now, once we've done that, spawn at, it's going to be equal to this dot transform dot position, and then we're going to say plus spawn at. So what that's going to do is we're going to modify spawn at, which is this position we just picked, by adding an offset of wherever this cube is at. That means they're not going to spawn at the origin, they're going to spawn actually around the thing that we want, okay? So, next up, so we know where we're going to spawn, now let's pick what we're going to spawn. Pick a random ship to spawn, okay? So, int, let's do prefab index is equal to Unity engine dot random dot range. Whoops. There we go. Random range. Thank you. 0 to 5. Okay? So basically this is a fancy way of saying pick a random number between 0 and 5. Okay? Then we're going to say spawn. Oh, wow. Spawn our ship. So this is where we're actually spawning it. So instantiate. And what we want to instantiate is from ship list. Remember that list of ships we got. Whatever this prefab index comes out. Prefab. Come on. Index. There we go. So whatever number we get out of that, pick the ship list, so the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth within the ship list, whatever it is. And where do we want to spawn it at? At spawn at. And then we have to give it a rotation. So we're going to give it a new quaternion, which is 0, 1, 0, 0. And that means that it is just facing the right direction. It's not rotated at a weird angle. Okay, so once again, we're picking a random location. We're going to modify that location a little bit. This is Unity speak for pick a random number between 0 and 5 within a range of 0 to 5, pick one, and then save that to a variable. And then here we're going to spawn that number ship at this position with this rotation. Okay, so that should spawn our ships. So let's go ahead and build that and make sure I didn't make any mistakes because I'm terribly typing. Okay, excellent. There we go. So now to put this into the world, what I've got in here, if we look at our pre-constructed thing here, I made an object called spawn ships here. To go to that, it's an invisible cube. So let's turn it visible so we can see it. There he is. And so the spawn ship spawner is on this cube, okay? So let's create another cube and we'll try and follow along with this, okay? So let's go game object, create 3D object, cube. Okay, cool. Here he is, and let's move him way over here. We can compare the two in the end. Way over here. There we go. So he's up here, we're over here. Cool. So let's find our spawner. It's that guy. Good. And we'll just drag and drop him. So here's our default. So everything is empty. So you can see here, launch ship every. So we're going to say every 2 seconds we're going to launch a ship. And range, let's make a range of 10. Okay, so that's 10 units. 10 units this way, 10 units this way, and this way, around this guy. Cool. And now we need some prefabs in here that are the different ships. Okay, well, we were creating a ship, weren't we? We have a ship down here. Where's he at? Way down over here. We have a ship ready to go. So here's the one that we pulled from, here's our tutorial one. So let's get that guy going. So go into our prefabs folder. I'm going to take my tutorial ship. I'm going to drag and drop him in there. Cool. All right, well, right now, if we were to attach these two, he's not going to do anything because, let's go back up here. This guy has the code to say spawn these ships, but they're not going to fly anywhere. Let's just see that happen so we understand. So I'm going to fill all 5 slots right now with our normal ship. Okay, so I'm just going to drag and drop, and this will fill up all 5 slots. Okay, so if I go to my default one over here, let's turn this guy off for now. So I'm just going to set the spawn launch ship every, and I'm going to say 1,000. So it's going to take forever for it to actually do anything. I'll say save scenes. Let's hit play and just see what happens. Okay. So now, if I look up in the sky, we should see ships appearing. And they're appearing, but they're not doing anything. Okay. I'm running towards this horizon here. Sorry. So they're appearing, but they're not moving anywhere. Okay. They're just kind of all clumping up there. And you can see that they are moving a little bit because they're bumping into each other, okay? They're bumping into each other because they have the collider, which is good, but they're not actually actively going forward. So we're just getting kind of a huge spawn of like bees in the air, but they're not moving. Okay, so let's make them move because that's a lot more interesting, isn't it? Okay, so this guy's all set. We have our ship set up, everything. And this selected prefab, you can actually watch this and it will keep changing to what is the prefab it selected. That's to make sure that we can see it properly, make sure that it's moving around. Okay, so let's make our next script. So we'll go into air traffic. So we made that, cool. Let's make our move forward script. This is so easy. All right, so create C# script, move forward to. Very cool. So let's get that going. See what will come up, and again, let's say yes to that. And we'll correct our lines here. Okay, so to move forward, we need a couple of things. Let's do a public float of move speed. So this is how fast do we want them to move, and we'll put a default of 1. All right. Then we need a public vector 3, and we call this direction. So this is what direction do you want to move it in, and this is going to be vector 3.forward. So this will automatically get the forward vector of the model or the mesh, sorry, of the game object, and it will move it forward. Okay. So then in update, which is called once a frame, we're just going to say transform dot translate, which means move, in your direction times your move speed, and then we're going to do times time dot delta time. Okay, and what that means is we're getting the system time so that it actually takes a distance of, say, 0 to 100 feet, and it says I want you to move forward at this rate, which means take that whole distance divided by the number of frames in time that will take place between these two and move it in that increment, so then it looks like it's actually moving smoothly. Okay, that's all we need to know. So let's build all, and we'll see. You should see no errors. Yep, cool. So now this is really neat. We can go into our prefabs. Let's go to, you notice our other ships, they have the move transform script on their ship 2 layer, not on the actual cube layer. So let's go to our ship here, and we can add it right to it. So again, on this ship layer, we can add component, and we can say, I think you can go scripts, yeah, existing scripts, and we can find it in here. So let's say move forward tutorial. There we go. So he's going to move forward at a rate of 1. Let's make that a bit faster. Let's make it 10. Let's make it 20, so we can just see it move. Okay. Let me just double check with these. Yep. So it should be all set. So now if we hit play, because we've already hooked up the script, now they should be moving forward. Yep, there they are. See, I'm not moving, and they're clearly moving forward. So now they're moving forward, they're spawning in a random position, they're moving forward, they move out of each other's way. Now all we need is to kill them at some point, because otherwise they're just going to move on forever. And that's not good, because then we're just going to run out of system memory, because eventually we'll have 1 billion ships in the sky. Okay. So to kill them, so we got this all set up, and that's identical to the way this guy is set up here. See? All set. So now what we need is the death zone. So we need some kind of a thing that will destroy them. So let's look at our example one. And if I turn this mesh render back on, you should see him. He's way in the distance there. You see him way over there? Okay, so he moves really far away. And what we've done here is, I'm going to turn on these other things to show you. So what I've got is, this is an actual like corridor that they have to exist in. Okay, so this is the total distance they have, and they bounce off of these walls, and they're just invisible in the scene. So that means they cannot miss this thing at the end, which will destroy them. So our little cube is right here, so let's move our little cube out over this way, so they're not spawning inside of that other range. There we go. So you can see that the cube is tiny compared to all this, but that's okay. It's just a point in space to say, here's where we want to start. So for our death zone, we need an object. So, okay, let's take, we're not going to take a copy of this guy because he's got all the scripts on him, but we can create a new one, 3D object cube, there we go. And we will move it kind of in line with this one. Let's get him all set up here. Get him kind of just right in his face. There we go. So once he's right in his face, then I can safely pull back and say, come out here. And now I can make him bigger. So let's make him taller and wider. Probably do this with numbers a little bit easier, but let's get him something like that. And now let's just make him gigantic. There we go. So that ship's going to fly at this wall, hit this wall, and be destroyed. Okay? So let's take a look at our death zone and see what it has special about it. Nothing much. It does have a box collider, which I think it comes default, and it just has the script on it. So look at this guy. Yep, same thing. So we just need the script. Perfect. So let's go ahead and make that. So we'll go into air traffic, new script, C#. Let's call it destroy ships tutorial. Okay, so let's open that up. And this is pretty simple too. Once again, we will say yes to this. And let's close these up. Come on, there we go, there we go. Okay, so to begin with, all we're gonna do is come down here and we're gonna add a new void on collision enter. All right. So for on collision enter, we're going to say the collision. What is the thing that we collided with? We're going to call this col. All right, there we go. So if col dot game object, lower game object dot tag is equal to ship. So we're going to make a tag and apply it to everything that is a ship. So then we can safely say that if you have collided with something that has the tag of ship, well, then that's something that needs to be destroyed by this object. So that means other things can safely fly through this object. So let's do destroy. And I'm going to say col.game object. There we go. That's all there is to it. It's very, very simple. So build all. Make sure I haven't made any mistakes. Nope. Cool. Okay, so now let's prove it. So I'm going to hit play. And what I'm going to do is actually break out and go to the scene so I can be up here. And here we go. So our ships are spawning, and they should move forward, and they should get destroyed by the wall, right? Let's see. Oh, no, they're hitting the wall, and they're just staying there. What's going on? Well, the system doesn't know yet that these have a tag. So they're just going to keep hitting the wall and just kind of bounce off like this. Okay, so we need to make sure they have that tag, right? Okay, so let's go into our what are we at? Ship tutorial. There he is. So to add a tag to something, you'll notice that our prefab one that we brought out here, you can see here it says tag ship, and this guy does not have tag at all. Now, when you start this, you're not going to have a tag. So what you're going to have to do is make one. So we're going to say tag, we're going to drop this down, so you say add tag, okay? And then you will give it a name. So you'll do a plus, and then tell it what you want your tag to be called. I called mine ship, and then hit save. I'm not going to do that again because I already have ship, okay? But once you have that, then you'll be able to go here and say ship. There we go. Cool. And click apply, and that will apply it to our prefab, all right? So now if we hit play, I'm going to drop out and go over here to scene. Oops, should be able to go up here. Come on. All right, here they go. Let's see if that worked, or do we need to apply it to the one in the prefab folder? Yeah, probably the one in the prefab folder. Okay. No problem. So we'll go here to this guy. Oh, this guy is set as a tag ship. So we got a problem with that. So this guy is a transform rigid body capsule collider, so we make sure that he can hit things. This guy is a transform capsule collider. Let's see what's wrong with our death zone over here. Transform, box collider, destroy ship script, mesh renderer. Okay, all that should be fine. By mesh renderer. No, they're identical, so that is unusual. Okay, because that should be just fine. Should be colliding and destroying, so I'm really not sure what I did there, but it works over here with this guy. Untagged. Death zone hit everything that hits that. Yeah. Well, I'm very sorry about that. It should be working. So there's something I'm missing. Destroy script. Oh, I know what we're missing. Look at that. Okay. So good debugging. Look at both things and make sure that you look at both things and see, well, this one works, so what's different, right? What's different is this guy doesn't have the script applied yet. Duh, just made the script, right? Okay. Sorry about that. So we go to our script here. Let's see. Destroy script. Toot. Yep. So we got that guy. We're going to drag and drop him. There we go. Now he's set to be an actual killer. He was a pacifist before the hand. All right, so let's do that, and we will drop out and go up to the scene so we can see it close by. Here we go. So now they should hit this and disappear because he now has a script applied saying, hey, if anything hits me and it's called a ship, destroy it. Look at that. Boom. Get out of here. Get out of here. So he's getting rid of our ships. Excellent. Okay. There we go. So now the last thing to do really is to kind of package this all up, and that's what we created here with these boxes. So the idea here is that this single prefab will give us a spawning radius from here, and these walls will kind of block it and keep it in. So if I'm going to move our tutorial stuff here, and let's move this down and out of the way, you know. And let's take this guy, and we'll change this to every 2 seconds. Okay. Now let's take this guy, and I'm gonna re-hide these walls. So our mesh renderer, hide the walls, and our death zone. Oh no, that's not the death zone. Death zone, and we'll hide the renderer for that. There we go. So now this whole thing, this whole unit, is one piece, and we can, let's hide that guy too. So now he's completely invisible in the sky, and we can have multiple copies of it. So I'm going to go way out here. Okay, and let's make a duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate it, move it down, and rotate it like that. And I can go here and change this guy to say every second. And this will probably be computationally expensive, but let's take a look at what happens. So now we have multiple layers of ships in the sky. So there's the first layer, there's another layer over there. So now imagine this, we're on the ground, we're walking around our city, and as we walk around and we look up in the sky, we can see all kinds of traffic, and they should be crisscrossing each other in the sky. Yeah, some ships are going that way, some ships are going straight, and you can just walk around your busy city and see that there's all kinds of traffic going around, and people are going about their lives and flying around, taking like taxis and whatnot, and we got different sizes. So the different sizes are just modifying those other prefabs. They literally just scaled them or made sure that they had different settings, so some are faster, some are slower, and now you can have all kinds of different ships that are moving around. Look at that, the whole sky just kind of lights up. And you can see that they hit that far border. They're not going to go beyond that. So we can have some control over them so that they're not just flying crazy all over the sky and going through buildings, for example. We want to make sure that they're kind of behaving a little bit. But yeah, very fascinating, very cool to see this. So there we go. So you got all kinds of cool traffic to work with now. Put these in your city, make sure that they're working, and make sure everything is good. Now, one thing it looks like I'm going to have to do is make sure that the movement of the ships is based upon the forward axis of the cube, not their forward axis, because you notice we rotated the cube and some of these are kind of sliding. See, sliding across the sky. It still looks cool, but it's not totally accurate, so I want to fix that. But we can fix that easily. Forward vector of the cube. That's not too hard. There you go, multiple layers. So this will be a great addition to our cities. It'll make them look awesome. I'll make some more improvements, and when I make my final one, I will of course put that out for you guys as well. You can take that and apply your own ships. And I hope that you have very much enjoyed. If you have any questions, if you have any problems with the scripting, let me know. I'll be happy to help. And yeah, I hope you guys have a safe and happy holidays. If I don't see you, we're going to have one more episode before the end of the year, as always. But in case I don't see you, in case you're busy and traveling, please be safe. And I will see you next time. So any questions, let me know. And as always, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.